Tremendous here, and I got another book review here for you. This one is called Delusions of Grandeur. It's a mind-bending tale of a man losing touch with reality. Yes, that is the entire long-ass title. I got it with Kindle Unlimited with my subscription. However, it looks like you can get it for $3.96 for an e-version and $6.93 for a paperback. It is around 117 pages long. It was published in August of 2019, and it is under the paranormal and psychological fiction genres, although I don't know why it would be called paranormal. It's really not. Probably just a way for the author to try to get into a niche. I don't know. Anyway, I read this book, and while it was only like 120 some odd pages, it felt a lot longer than that. A real lot longer than that. So I'm pretty sure that the author meant for this individual to just be a crazy person. But it's not. I mean, obviously, this person's crazy, absolutely crazy. The whole book is in first person. It's just not fun. It's not good. Yes, the author conveys that the character is out of his mind, losing it. At one, it's hypocritical. It's crazy. It's all over the place. He literally believes that he's found a chemical that he's consuming, a drug called the golden apple, and yes, from Adam and Eve, and stuff. And the more he takes, the more his mind opens up, and he's got like this understanding of reality, and then he becomes reality, and then he's the alpha and the omega, and then he's saying that God doesn't exist, and then he's saying he is God or the God or a God or God's God, and then God doesn't exist. And then alcohol is bad. This character hates alcohol and drugs, but marijuana is cool, and the golden apple drug that he's taking in order to get these mind enlightening experiences are okay. Those are actually ambrosia. Those are great. And it's real hypocritical. It touches very, very gently on anti-Trump, climate change, political spectrums. It even kind of says who this guy's going to vote for in the next election. It's all over the place. It's the verbiage used is difficult to follow. It's a lot of very poetic, long-winded, just diatribe that's not fun to read. You know, the little things that you add. It's like having a big container of delicious buttered popcorn. And, you know, if you add the right amount of salt, it just enhances everything, just like the verbiage that this guy completely overuses while he's writing this story. Well, it's like somebody took the entire container of salt and dumped it into the popcorn and just ruined what could have been a tasty treat. And it's frustrating because honestly, I feel like there's something here. I feel like there's a story here that's pretty good. It's so convoluted. It's delusional, and it's hard to follow. You're literally trying to make sense out of a broken mind, and while the author does that beautifully, it's not fun. It's not entertaining. It's not a good read. In fact, the first time I opened it to read it, my mind just couldn't latch on to it. It couldn't focus on it. It put me to sleep. And I hate to say that, but it's the truth. I read about 30 pages of it, and next thing I know, I'm falling asleep. And it's just, if I hadn't been reading this book, for the review, that would have been done. I would have deleted it and moved on to the next one. But I wanted to finish it. I wanted to keep my word, integrity based, channel and everything. But I don't even know where to begin. There's really no story here. It's just ravings of a lunatic, and that's really what it comes down to. It's to the point where you're not sure if the author's serious or not. It's very confusing. One minute you're like, I think maybe the author believes this stuff because it's all written in first person. So I guess I should say the character, not the author. I apologize. But the character, it's like sometimes you think he really means it. Sometimes you think he's being, he's being a wise ass. He's joking around, and then next minute it's like, no, he really believes this, and it's just all over the place. I don't even know what's going on. At one point, he's a happily married man with a daughter, and the next minute he's a single therapist that's contemplating suicide, and then he's a homeless person with no two nickels. He couldn't rub two nickels together if he had to, and then he's a super happy therapist that's super successful and well known, and then he's God, and then he's dead, and then he's tumbling through space, time, reality, and existence, and then all of it's being taken away from him. He's going back to normal, where he's the married guy in a coma with a daughter again, and he's back. And it was a crazy. I don't know what the hell's going on. It's just not a well presented story. It's got some typos and stuff like that. I will give the author this. It was clever the way he addressed the typos that he knew was going to be in this book, because all of them have it. He says because of the way the status of his mind is and everything, of course there's going to be some grammatical and spelling errors, because his mind is moving so fast, his physical body can't keep up. I thought that was clever, so I got to give credit where it's due. He actually made an excuse for his typos in the story. I was like, all right, that's pretty good. But that's really it. Everything else is just becomes white noise. It's you can't grasp it because it's in a language. Yes, it's English, but it's using verbiage that 99.9% of society does not use. And honestly, you would, in my opinion, to tell this story, he would have to talk normally like a regular individual does, and flavor some of it with the bigger words, or even show the character kind of going into a rant where all of a sudden his vocabulary comes out and he's using massive words, and then he catches himself and goes, oh, hang on, let me dial it back down. It would still be condescending like a lot of the book is. It would still show delusions of grandeur and insanity, but it would also show the level of awareness this guy is supposedly have, and it would make it a little bit more believable, and it would make it easier to follow and more enjoyable to read, because I can't imagine many people that don't know the author pick this book up, read the 120 pages because they're interested to see what happens at the end. It's just, it does another weird thing around the middle of the book where I think the author thinks he's a poet. And maybe he is, but not in this context, because he starts getting real poetic with a lot of stuff and waxing philosophical. It's not well done. It's not well done. It's not fun. I have no idea what's going on with half the book, and the verbiage used is a major turnoff. It's like I said, it's like dumping an entire container of salt into your popcorn and wondering why your treat was ruined. All in all, I gave this book 1.5 stars. It was probably the most unique idea I've seen in a while. It just wasn't presented in a way that was readable. I mean, I'm sorry, it was monotone, it was difficult to follow, very difficult to follow, and it wasn't fun. It wasn't enjoyable. It wasn't relaxing. It felt like studying stereo instructions for a big test that you're not really into. It just so I'm gonna give it 1.5 stars. I don't hate the book, but it was really close. It does have a few moments of cleverness, and I'm using that term loosely, which is where the half star comes from. I really like what he did to address his typos and stuff like that, but that's really about it. And I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna take a break now, and I'm gonna play my my ad and everything and go into the spoiler section of the review. But honestly, it's not going to take that long because I really can't spoil anything in this book because there's really nothing that happens. It's just the ravings of a lunatic. So yeah, stand by. All right, in case you guys didn't already know, I am a self-published author, which is why I'm so passionate about self-published books. It's available on Amazon.com and paperback, Kindle, and Kindle Unlimited. If you're interested, the link's in the description. I'd really appreciate it checked out, left a review. So get ready, spoilers are coming up next, so if you're still here and the music stops, it's your fault. All right, you're still here, so let's get to it. So it starts off, and he's doing this. The main character is doing this weird thing where he's talking about the golden apple, this drug that's shown him enlightenment, and he's evolved and ascended, and he's one with the gods, and then he is God, and it's just ravings of a lunatic. That's all it is. You know, you kind of get little glimpses of what his life is like. He starts off and he's a husband to his wife, and he's got a young daughter, and he's very fond of them, but that's really about it. It's just him talking about how wonderful he is and how great he is and how evolved he is and how he's going to use this story to transcend the reader into his reality so that he can have an equal at his plane of existence and his level of intellect. And he just comes off as a raving moron. It's painful. A lot of the bigger words aren't even used correctly. It's hard. It's you get disgusted really fast with the character. So I'm sitting here and I'm trying to get past this book, and I get about 30 pages into it and I fall asleep. I literally passed out on a train heading home from work. So I don't do sleeping in public with like that, surrounded by strangers. And this book put me to sleep. That's how difficult it was for me to latch on to the ravings, because I couldn't figure out what the hell was going on. I couldn't understand what the point to all of this was. There was no hook. It was just ravings, just lunacy for 120 pages, and it's aggravating. I can equate it to you've all been around a one-upper or a bragger. Oh, I played football and I would have gone pro, but I took a knee injury or something. Or oh, I play this game better than anyone else. I just don't go pro because I'm not overly competitive and stuff like that. It's that level of just eye-rolling nausea, and that's what this book did to me. I did not want to read it, but I did. I finished it cover to cover. And the best thing I can tell you is he keeps upping his dose to see what level of awareness, awokefulness, whatever, that he can achieve. And the more he takes, the higher it gets. And then he gets to a certain dosage, and it's way too much, and he ends up killing himself, I think. Or no, he puts himself into a coma, I think. But he's still aware, even though he's in a coma. And it's just like, okay, sure. I don't get it. I don't get what the point was. I don't get what story the author was trying to tell. He definitely nailed the whole I'm a lunatic, I have delusions of grandeur. Yes, that was definitely his goal, and he nailed that. You have no problem believing the main character has delusions of grandeur whatsoever. The only thing that I'm having a problem with is, so what? Why do I care as the reader? What makes this worth my time? Why do I give a crap? Why do I want to read this? What's the hook? There is no hook. There's no hook whatsoever. Once you get about 20 pages in and realize there's no plot, there's no substance, there's no middle, there's no climax, there's no conclusion, there's no supporting characters. There's, sure, other people are mentioned, like his wife, his daughter. That's about it. And I don't even know if they really exist. That's it. There's just nothing but this guy raving about how the golden apple is wonderful and blah blah blah, and 1 minute he's God, the next minute he's wondering if his mind is snapped, if he's insane. But no, that can't be it. But yes, it can. And a lot of contradicting himself and a lot of hypocritical garbage. He really hates alcohol. He really hates drugs, but marijuana is totally awesome. And this golden apple drug that's awakening his mind and bringing him to a different level of intellect, those are perfectly fine. That's totally awesome. And then he kind of dabbles. He touches on some hot topic issues, some buzzwords for whatever reason. This could be the author just taking a shot, or maybe he's trying to make a point. I don't know, but he talks about climate change for a brief moment. He talks about disliking Trump for a brief moment. He talks about who he's going to vote for. He's talking about different, wars and all this stuff, and what are they good for? Just blah 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 blah. It's scattered around in throughout the book, so it doesn't hit you all at once. But it takes a situation where you're already irritated, and just whatever side of the political or opinionated question you're on, it's just not well done. And even if you agree or disagree with it, it doesn't really matter. It takes a story that you're already aggravated with and makes you roll your eyes so hard, one falls out of your head or you fall asleep on a moving train. Whichever. It's just, it's just not well done. It's clever in a way that I've never seen a book written like this before. But at the same time, I now understand why nobody writes a book like this if they want it to do well or they want to convey a story, because there was no story here. It was like I found the journal of a madman and it wasn't fun. It's not how it was presented. It's not how it was supposed to be. And honestly, it pissed me off a little bit. I don't want that. If I'm going to read a fictional book, that's supposed to be sci-fi or something like that. It's supposed to have a story. It's supposed to have a beginning, a middle, an end, a hook. Some reason I'm supposed to care about what's happening here. And this book fails to do any of that. All it does is allows the character, the author really, to rave for 120 pages about delusions of grandeur. And I didn't like it. I didn't like it at all. I'm going to give it 1.5 stars, and for the same reason I said in the spoiler-free section, it wasn't a good book. I was really close to hating it. It's just there was a couple of small things like how he dealt with the typos and the grammatical errors. I thought that was clever, the way he tied it all into the character. And it was interesting that he decided to write the entire things as a madman, but it wasn't good. So 1.5 stars, and I did not enjoy this book, and honestly, I cannot recommend somebody to check it out. However, I am also very aware that I am not the definitive authority on these things, and the description or the link will be in the description. So if you're feeling froggy and you're up for a challenge, by all means, check the book out. It's on Amazon. It does not cost much, and it won't take you long to read. It'll feel like it takes you a long time to read it, but it won't take you long to read it. And you can come back and we have a conversation about it. You can tell me if I'm right, if I'm wrong, if I'm crazy, if I'm not crazy, or if I have delusions of grandeur. Maybe this is just my inner voice talking to me and the book doesn't really exist. I don't know anymore. I might be slightly insane. Anyway, that's going to do it for this one. As always, if you have any questions, comments, concerns, or complaints, feel free to put them in the comment section below, and I will get back to you as quick as I can. And as always, thanks.